Good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here with you today. This is a topic that's very dear to me. So, Abbassi, I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of a startup, which is a software as a service company, and we focus on marketing automation and funnel management. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the future of marketing technology, but before I do, let me see if, there you go. I want to talk to you about what we call the challenge. So it's not that me and a few friends got together and said, hey, let's start a company. That's not what we did, actually. We were trying to address an actual challenge we were having at marketers. And that challenge was, we wanted to build a predictive analytics and marketing automation. We wanted to head that way. And predictive analytics in the sense of, we wanted to do statistical modeling in terms of, if I present this person with this product or service, what are the odds they would purchase? 80%, 90%, right? What is the product I should show them? And also, how do I automate this? So it's not people sitting there doing it. How do we build a technology to automate this and increase our sales? That's how this all started. That was the challenge. So we used an existing model when it comes to predictive analytics, and it says you should use your marketing dollars for one sector of the population. And it divides them into 4 different groups. And they are the do not disturbs. These are people you should not spend your marketing dollars on. They don't want to be disturbed. They should not be disturbed. You're not going to get a conversion. Then you have the category which is lost causes. Makes no difference how much you spend, what you say. It's a lost cause. It's going to lead nowhere. Don't waste marketing dollars on them either. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the sure things. They will buy. They like the brand. They like the product. They like the price. Whatever it is, they're a sure thing. Also, why spend money there? They're a sure thing. So we really wanted to spend the money on one category, which is the persuadables. People who could be persuaded to purchase the product or service. So we said, okay, if we're going after persuadables, what I'm showing you right now is, well, we have to build a decision tree. And you can't see this, but it's just to show you is, how do I know you're persuadable? Well, if I do an email campaign, if I do a social media campaign, and so forth. And what kind of technology do we buy, and how do we integrate them so it can identify you and then make the recommendations of the product? That was the idea. This is what the decision tree looked like for email. And at the end, the little red circles, those were them telling us who they are based on behavior. So a sure thing was up there, lost causes, and this is who we were looking for, persuadables. So this was the challenge. This is what started it all, right? So we realized that the future of marketing technology will drastically change how we and the paid media platforms operate. So right now, in the current state, what happened here? Yeah, something was wrong with this clicker. I apologize. So there are 3 necessary changes that we saw as coming into the future of marketing. One was large marketing teams. The other one is related to campaign management. And finally, this paid media, this siloed approach with paid media. We saw that these changes will happen. And in each of these, we want to open them up a little bit. So large marketing teams in the future, we think will head towards automation and personalization. Investments will not be towards growing the team. Investments will lead towards technologies that allow you to automate and personalize. Campaign management, we're going to go back to funnel management. And we'll talk about that. What is the difference between campaign management and funnel management? And finally, paid media integration. This siloed approach will go away. And we want to talk about each of these a little bit, open it up. So to start off with automation and personalization. So there's a quote by Andrew Yang, which I really like. The businessman, he says that automation is no longer just a problem for those working in manufacturing. Physical labor was replaced by robots. Mental labor is going to be replaced by AI and software. Totally makes sense, right? I mean, why should the marketing industry be immune to automation and scaling? Every other industry is. So there has to be some benefits to it. And some of them are like every other industry. Lower overhead cost, higher lifetime value and higher ROI, less risk, financial risk, legal risk. Training and retention issues are addressed more easily. Operational scaling is done. via technology as opposed to staffing. And finally, it is easier to optimize and find patterns that work. So automation is happening in all industries, and marketing is not immune to it. But why personalization? There's a quote of Henry Ford I really like. He says that a man who stops advertising to save money is like a man who stops a clock to save time. I really like it, right? It's really clever, right? So we got to advertise, but we really took this to heart. What do I mean? Well, there's a need for personalization because there's a thing I like to refer to as advertisement overload and the increased cost of marketing. In the 1970s, the average person saw anywhere from 500 to 1,600 ads a day. Traditional forms, right? Radio, television, newspaper, and so forth. In 2007, that number went to 5,000. 2020, 6 to 10,000, because now it also has digital. So, unless marketers begin personalizing their ads to the individual rather than the segment, they will continue to overload the individual and see a decrease in return and an increase in ad spend. So automation is going to happen because of all the benefits. And personalization needs to happen because what is the magic number? 20,000 ads a day? 30,000 ads a day? We got to talk to the individual, right? Which brings us to the next, we like to call them stops at Locomotive, stop, which is funnel management versus campaign management. So to kind of set this up, the way we talk about campaign management is an outside-in type approach, where we like to say funnel management is an inside-out approach. And what do I mean by that? Well, on the outside, you have all the pay-for-advertising media. We know these channels, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pandora, and there's many more. We all know them. We work with them, you know. So we go out there and we have our ads, we have our campaigns, and then each of them produces a report, their own report, tells us their KPIs, and sure enough, they always say how great it is, right? I mean, have you ever gotten a report that says, hey, I just want to let you know that we don't think our platform is right for you. We think the guy next will do better for you. I mean, that's not going to happen, right? We always joke about that. So you take these various reports, and we try to make sense of all of these reports, and then somehow this leads into a paid media strategy. The problem with this campaign management approach is that a well-thought-out strategy will lead to focused tactics, whereas the integration of various tactics would not necessarily lead to a strategy, right? I can't take one-off things and then combine them and say, that's my strategy. Strategy is, I have a strategy. What are the one-off things I need to do, right? And so campaign management is going to change because there's another quote of Henry Ford that I really like. And he says, half the money I spend on advertising is waste. And the problem is, I don't know which half. Do you guys remember the number, 6,000 to 10,000 ads a day? That's this individual. That's this segment. I have to be on this channel because the segment is in this channel. I have to be on the other channel. So we throw money at it. But they might be only interacting with, in this case, for example, I just picked 2. He might be interacting with 2. She might be interacting with 2. But there's money flowing here. And this, we believe it will become obsolete, this approach. We think it's going to go towards funnel management. How do we navigate them through with the use, like I said, predictive analytics and technology? How do we navigate them through the funnel of conversion based on the channels they're interacting with, right? So moving towards marketing automation does not have to be a timely or costly endeavor. Funnel management through technology will give us a lot of benefits, right? It will help us identify the channel that works best for each consumer and segment. You know, we can change the channel or medium based on where the consumer segment is in order to make conversions. It helps us identify the ads that are working for each consumer, for each product or service. And finally, it allows us to adjust the budget and change messages along a purchasing funnel, not the campaign. So we think this image is more appropriate. Through some sort of technology, it will identify, say, hey, so-and-so is behaving in this way with these 2 ads. Guess what? You cut off the spend on the other ones. And it needs to identify for that for you by integrating all of these channels. So Before I go into the paid media integration and the siloed paid media, I would like to ask a close colleague and the senior advisor to our startup, Tom Oser, who is the CEO of Pipeline Strategies, to come up and share some of his experience as a CEO who has dealt with CMOs and budgets and so forth. Tom, would you mind? Thank you.
Oh, I don't need this.
Oh, you do, yeah.
Am I on? I'm a man of many words, so I'm going to read prepared notes so that I don't go over into Ali's extra time. As Ali said, that I'm the CEO of Pipeline Strategies Consulting, and here in marketing and sales, we know pipeline to be about the sales and marketing pipeline. But I help companies think about maximizing the value of their business by making sure that all of the operational pipelines of their business are implementing best practices and managing by metrics that matter. And that's what I'm hearing in spades and at this conference, is that metrics that matter are metrics that mean something to diverse operations of the business, that you can define a single characteristic that guides you every day. And if that metric is on, you're doing well. And if it's not, then you go digging into perhaps dozens of metrics and look for where the problems are. So Ali asked me to give a real world example because that's what I did to the panel that he was on yesterday. And so I recall a 12-month interim chief executive role for a higher education organization, about $65 million operationally. And the first thing that I noticed when I got there is that they were spending $8 million on marketing. It was about 14.5% of their top line budget, and their direct peer competitors or colleagues in the industry are only spending about 7%. So I called the marketing managers together and I said, where are you spending all this money? What are you spending it on? They were spending about $400,000 per month on advertising and media campaigns, more than half of their budget. I said, well, where are you spending $400,000 a month? Well, we're doing about 80 campaigns, $5,000 a piece. For example, on Facebook or something like that. I said, oh, that's interesting. So when you place your $5,000 bet, when do you stop? They said, well, what do you mean, when do we stop? I said, well, when do you make your decision? Perhaps mid-month, stopping that spend if it goes bad. He says, well, we know when to stop. The money runs out of that account. And I said, I think I found the problem. I said, well, what happens after $1,000? There's no response to that particular campaign. He says, oh, Tom, you just don't understand marketing. We got 80 of these things running. We don't have the time to look at those numbers. And I was astounded. Fortunately, I knew that Ali was the head of strategic initiatives and metrics for the entire organization. But oddly enough, the previous gang at the top kept Ali out of marketing. So we got together, we went through this, and he came in, he brought the analytics, and we started analyzing all of the campaigns. And all of a sudden, really defensive marketing managers made a pivot. Psychologically, they were in. They could now see what was working, what was not working, and they could abandon, and they were praised for discovering mistakes on legitimately well thought out strategies and campaigns, stopping, pivoting, and taking the $4,000 and going to a different campaign that they'd been thinking about. And if $1,000 into that one showed no results, stop the bleeding and take the $3,000. Now they could do this because they had comprehensive reporting. They could see the campaigns. They didn't have to manage 80 one by one at a time. They could look for the metrics, which ones were performing, which ones were the exceptions. And it turned out to be a great turnaround for the organization. We were able to stop the decline of enrollments to a break even year over year. Ali, he reduced the media spend by about $2 million, and the conversion rates went up about 12 to 15%, and we had a projected $4 million deficit for the year. It turned out to be a net zero, almost a contribution to reserves by the end of the year. So I just want to say that in the real world, you have to think about one metric that matters, that guides you on a daily basis. And if that one's off, go digging into the dozens of things that can be wrong. But make sure you have that guiding for every function. What is the one metric that tells you every day when you wake up, Are you on target? Are things okay, or are they getting stressed out? So I'm going to stop there, and I just want to say that I'm pleased to be an advisor to Ali and the team over at Locomotive, and I'm pleased to have a chance to share with you my own thoughts that what gets measured gets done. So make sure you're measuring the right things. Thanks a lot.
When we were talking to Tom, and like I said, going back to that initial challenge, it never was about, hey, let's build a platform, let's do this. When we were done with this project, we said, well, we can't be everywhere. There's got to be a way to do this. And so, and just, I can tell you, throughout my years, when it comes to technology, and it comes to like automation, and it comes to predictive analytics, I've talked to many marketing managers, I've talked to many CMOs, I've ran marketing departments. And at the end of the day, the guy who pulls the trigger, that CEO, that CFO, that they want the investment, they don't want to hear about the impressions. They don't want to hear about all the campaigns. They really want to have a one-pager in front of them. They want to see the return. They want to hear about conversions. It's an investment to them, and they want it back. And they want that money back. It's a boomerang to them. One of them told me it's a boomerang. I throw it, I need to come back. Right? And that's what matters to them. So when they hear about invest in technology that shows you where all your campaigns are, if somebody is interacting with one of your campaigns and is moving down the funnel, stop the bleeding everywhere else. You don't need to spend money elsewhere. Do not spend money on people who are not persuadables. You know what I mean? Recommend products that you're sure they will take. And these are the things that matter to them. So we said, hey, it's a fun project. We were on the road, so let's try to build it out. So paid media integration versus the siloed paid media. So lack of paid media integration helps, integration keeps marketers in the dark, but it benefits the media platforms, right? Because there's an initial challenge when we want to do funnel management, and that challenge is it's this. When you have multiple touch points, and you add to that the lead time to conversion that can vary based on product or service, and then you add to that a lack of platform and messaging integration across the spectrum of marketing, you end up with a challenge in optimizing conversion behavior. So not having our marketing efforts integrated and connected across the various platforms increases the cost, lowers the ROI, lowers the lifetime value. It sends mixed messages to both existing clients and new clients. So imagine I see at a campaign, real life example, hey, if you're interested to learn more, click here. Facebook campaign, I clicked it. So I just went from awareness to consideration. But there's a bunch of other campaigns, MailChimp, Twitter, this, that. They're also telling me this. Why am I still getting this message? All of these other things need to stop. I'm already in conversion. We need to save money on that, right? So, and increases the staffing and training costs. And finally, it turns marketing into like a guessing game, but one that has numbers, as opposed to really having useful data. If I don't see how people move along that funnel, it's a nice to know, but it's not real data. Not for the CEOs. And for those of you who work with them, you know. So this lack of integration benefits the paid media platforms. Why? If 70, 80, 90% of my business is to sell ads, well, I need to sell ads. I mean, who blames you? And guess what? I'm going to tell you how great I'm doing it. Why not? That's what keeps me in business. But this harms the marketing professional because it lowers our return. So paid media platforms should aid the marketing efforts and stop being a costly barrier. So we think that because of marketing technology in the future, marketing messages will become more relevant and personalized. It will be easier to do scaling. It will lower our ad spend. It will lower our cost of conversion. Control goes back to the marketers rather than platforms. And I think technology will force that upon them. And the paid media platforms will have to work with one another. And that's why we had built Locomotive, because that's what we wanted. And nobody was giving that to us. So we wanted control to go back to us. And we said, okay, we'll build this and we'll give that to the marketers. And if you recall, I told you that campaign management is an outside-in approach, whereas funnel management is an inside-out approach. and how strategy and tactics. So funnel management strategy, the way we look at it at Locomotive is like this. It's targeted, focused funnel messaging along the purchasing funnel. So awareness, consideration, purchase, and post-purchase. That is what drives it. And then you do a paid media integration through technology so you can get one comprehensive report. So you can manage your budget holistically based on the individual and how much you're spending on them on all platforms. And it informs your messaging and funnel. And then we go out there and say, let's build some tactics, which we call these campaigns, on these media platforms. And some sort of technology can help guide all that. One of my favorite quotes by the famous strategist Sun Tzu is that he says that strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. And this is paid media integration. And the reason Tom shared that experience with you, because that organization experienced defeat. They kept throwing money at the problem. These are tactical things. That's just noise. We invested a little bit in technology. We took a different approach into what we want to use our marketing dollars for. We stopped with campaigns and we looked at funnels. We looked at our ROI. We looked at how much we spent per person. And sure enough, we came out of a deficit. So, just to do a quick summary and a recap. We think there are three major stops. One is automation and personalization. We've got to talk to the individual, not the segment. And automation is going to come into marketing like it did to every other industry. We're going to go back to funnel management. Conversations will change, not so much campaign management. I know because when people talk to me about campaign management, I say, okay, tell me a little bit more about what you're doing with all these campaigns. And then paid media integration. And we think these are the three major stops that will lead to the future of marketing technology. Technologies like ours, startup like ours, will be born, and they will build technologies that can help us achieve these things. So I think we have a few minutes to answer any questions you might have. We're also around. Some of our people are here. Please come, say hi. Yes, please.
Yeah, I have a question.
Absolutely.
I've been building websites for about 30 years now, and everybody keeps telling me the website's going away. Favorite landing pages? I just want to hear your thoughts.
Websites going away?
Yeah, going to landing pages, microsites for marketing and automation.
I haven't seen that. Elaborate. Why do they say that? I'm curious to know. What is the reasoning?
No, I've just heard that, these big, long, detailed websites, that they're not in fashion anymore because there's so many funnels. These landing pages that are optimized for different people. So people are putting more, I'm seeing clients put more money into these funnels that are single page signups and forms, like just one video, and not so much websites. And that to me is kind of disturbing because the consumer doesn't really get that much information. They're just getting, okay, here's your form, call us, email us. And with this automation, I see that kind of the way the industry's kind of going. And it's we're kind of losing the soul of the message. Oh, sorry. My point is that clients are saying to me, I don't need a big, deep website with 150 pages. I just need 15 landing pages for 15 types of customers leading to a lead. And to me, that's kind of like taking the soul out of the marketing aspect of, reaching out to people to their website and talking about your product. But with automation and what you're talking about, it seems like we're going in the direction of machines creating landing pages that are optimized with words that correspond to an individual so that they just fill out a form and get a phone call from somebody, usually in some warehouse somewhere. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that. Do you see it going
I disagree
more
with your
towards-
clients, if I may speak openly. I
Okay.
agree with you. I actually don't see websites going away. I actually don't think it'll go to landing pages, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll tell you the way I look at a website. These models that we take to the e-commerce world, these are really simple business practices. So I walk into a grocery store, and all of us have had this experience, and I go, wait a minute, the cookies were here last time. Where are they? And they say, oh, sorry, we moved it to aisle 5. So I go to aisle 5. Sometimes like, why are they doing this thing, right? There's a reason for this. If I know I have a product I want to sell, I'll put it all the way in the back. I'll make you walk through this aisle to sell the other one. Products that do well, I put it in front of Ivy, right? Things that I want to co-brand, I put next to the other. There's measurements that go into this. And this, to me, when I see a slash on a website, it's like an aisle. When somebody says they create another slash, what is that aisle? What is the purpose of that aisle? If somebody lands there, what are they looking at? What are they buying? I actually don't agree with a lot of these landing pages. I agree more with websites. Like I think Amazon is a great example that does a lot of personalization. They do a lot of analytics. They present you with stuff, and it's growing and growing. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, like specifically more recently, I've talked to several doctors, and they say that. It's like, somebody they need a cardiologist, they just need to come in and see me. Like, they don't need to read a lot about me, they just need to they need to come in. So when you're talking to clients that are more like that direct marketing kind of thing, it seems like that is definitely the conversations I'm hearing, because they talk to these marketers like, oh, you can get a free website from us, all you got to do is pay us $10,000 a month on AdWords. So like I hear that a lot, and to me it's like, no, you need a beautiful website that talks about your brand, who you are, and why you should go to you instead of somebody else. But there's a lot of pushback from the customer side where they're like, well, websites are supposed to be free, aren't they? And it's just, I don't know, this is my take.
Again, I can say my brother is a doctor. We have people in our family in the medical field. I'm the only one that's not. They've been the most difficult clients I've worked with. When a doctor says they want help, I generally refer them to another friend who wants the business. They're good at what they do, but when it comes to websites and marketing, I always hit a brick wall. Again, I'm sorry if there's doctors in the room. We have doctors in our family. I go to the doctor. I love it, but marketing conversations, I steer clear. I'm just being honest with you. I think I've referred a doctor last week to a friend of mine, and I don't want to take that call again. I'm just saying it's the sector. They're different. It's a lot of referrals and so forth. That's my opinion. I think websites are very relevant. I think they're around to stay, and I think, I don't see it going away. Great question. Thank you. So I don't know if we have any more questions. It's hard to see everyone, but if we don't have any questions, I just want to say that we're just launching the beta for Locomotive, and for the people at MARsum, if you'd like to sign up for the beta, it's absolutely completely free for you. You are the marketers. We love your feedback. If you use it, it is free. Sign up for the beta, as we're trying to always refine and make it better for us to run our businesses. We encourage you to go to our website, locomotivehub.com, sign up for the beta, no cost to you. And thank you for letting us be here. It is an honor to be with you. Thank you for your questions and your comments.